welcome to episode 105 of Big Red Barrel Geek Speak, a place for all your nerdy needs on biggerbarrel.com. My name is Alex, I'm a self-appointed baroness of butts. I'm also the host for this episode, and if I would have been one of the 7 dwarves right now, I would have been sleepy. With me, as always, is the lover and tamer and seducer of all big monsters, is Gently Jubilant Juggernaut of Joe.
Hello! You can't tame the big monsters, though. Godzilla will not be tamed. He is just as he is.
That's why I added seduced.
Yeah, you have to just love him as he is. You can't change Godzilla. He is like the wind, unknowable and unchangeable.
I believe you. I think you have more experience than me in this matter, and if you say that this is what you have to do to get in with the Godzilla, I'm like, that's right, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
We're also joined by a knight in shining armor who proudly rides a capybara into the battles that he wins gloriously. I have no idea what's wrong with me today, guys. Anyway, it's dangerously darling Diarmuid.
Hello there.
Hello!
If I was a dwarf, could I be lustful?
Lustful?
Is he a dwarf, or is that the porn parody I watched the other night? Uh-oh.
I don't think that's a real dwarf, no.
Can you, dear listeners, can you tell which one of us is not a morning person? So, we're going to start with Time Waster of the Week, and it is actually a channel that we've already had as a Time Waster, but I saw one of the videos that I think they either brought back or reposted, and it is gold, guys. So, the channel is a pop culture detective, which is a great channel just in general, and does some really amazing videos. They actually did a video recently about the cute misogyny of Big Bang Theory, which I really recommend everyone to see. But the one that I want you to see is Buffy versus Edward Twilight Remixed. So Edward is obviously Edward from what's-his-face Twilight thing, right?
That shiny pansy.
There is clips from mostly the first Twilight movie intercut with some of the clips from Buffy. And it's really how Bella should have reacted to the creepy, stalkerish, inappropriate Edward, but she didn't. But Buffy, years before her, really reacted that way. And it is hilarious. And just Sarah Michelle Gellar, just some of her expressions are just perfect. Just a perfect compilation.
It's just sort of made me think of something that someone tried to say, I can't remember who it was, someone tried to argue the point that the Twilight movies are feminist one time, and I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding.
Joe triggered.
They were like, oh yeah, it's feminist because Bella just is she's just going after what she wants and doing what she wants. And I'm like, is this a joke? Are you being for real right now? It's the least feminist thing I think I've seen in a long time. Bloody ridiculous. So no. But yeah, that sounds awesome. Buffy versus Edward. Does she stake him at the end?
Do you know what? I did not finish watching till the end. I got from most of it and then I got distracted. And now I've just remembered that I have not finished it. And God, I wish it did.
I have, and I can officially say, spoiler alert, she does.
Yes!
Yes!
Yes! Good stuff, Buffy. She's the best.
Although, Joe, well done for reinforcing the point that we made the last time, which is that in the morning you really do have very strong opinions.
I'm sorry. I'll be quiet now. I'll be good. I promise.
No. This is a podcast. You're not supposed to be quiet.
But Twilight is bollocks, though. Come on.
It is. It is bollocks.
I mean, I've watched them all. I don't know why, but I've watched them all, and they just are the fucking worst. Yeah. Let's move on.
Yeah, okay, let's move on to the news. So the first news is, look, again, these are my interpretation of the news. You might argue with the definition of it, but we're going with it. So there's been more images released this week of Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft.
Oh, cool.
She looks absolutely spiffing, I think. She looks more like Lara Croft than Angelina Jolie ever did. Yeah, so the film is by an original filmmaker his name I'm gonna butcher, but I like his first name, which is Roar.
Raw.
Thug.
Nice. That's a great name.
That is
It
quite
is a
cool.
great name.
I'm a fan of Alicia Vikander. She's been in some really
great.
good films. Ex Machina is obviously probably
Yes.
the best thing she's been in that I've seen, at least. But she's been in plenty of other things, and she's a really good actress. And I really like that this seems to be going in the right direction. I looked up this ROAAAAAR.
Yeah.
And he hasn't really made much. He's made a few short films. He did an episode of a TV show I've never seen. Did a few bigger films, but nothing that would kind of suggest that he would be put in charge of like what would be considered a big property like Lara Croft. So I'm interested to see, like, obviously he's gotten the job, so hopefully we'll find out next March whether he did a good job or not. But everything we've seen so far has been encouraging, and the rest of the cast actually are really kind of cool. I can't wait to see Walton Goggins in this. Like, I really like him as an actor.
It does look cool. Yeah, what I've seen so far, she's perfect. Like, for the new Lara, she's great. Like, I'm a bit of a fan of the Angelina movies because as we've covered before, I like to watch the bad movies so people don't have to. But I actually quite enjoyed her as Lara Croft. Like, of that era, of that time period, she's very much the Lara Croft of those games, whereas Alicia Vikander is a much better casting for the new Lara. But yeah, this looks cool. I'm quite excited for this. I just read the thing that she's working as a cycle courier or something. Why does she need to do that? Because she's loaded.
Well, she is in this. She's a it's her origin story.
Yeah.
So I think they're basically taking this from the reboot in 2013. I think
But isn't she loaded in that at the beginning because of Daddy's money?
Yes and no. I think she was, but like even in that, she was like a college student who was on a trip that was financed by someone else.
She's trying to fit in with the normals.
Exactly, right. the normal people, the middle class. But it's one of those. We'll have to wait and see. I'm really looking for, because all we've seen so far are images, and the images look incredible, but they're basically at the moment just cosplay.
Yeah.
I need to see, and I trust Alicia Vikander as an actress to be able to bring this to life, so that's good.
Yeah.
But I need to see something like a trailer or something that gives me the tone of the film.
Yeah, it should be soon, I would imagine. Yeah.
I would guess so. If it's releasing next March, I would say it's going to be attached to something coming up pretty soon. But I don't know which studio is actually running this, so I don't know what it would be attached to. Potentially Blade Runner? Maybe? I don't know.
Could be, yeah. Yeah, that would be a decent fit.
Piggybacking on your point, Di, that you're not the director that's attached to this big franchise is very unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it may be because Hollywood is still not really taking video game movies seriously? Because has there really been a good one ever? And you think of, all the Resident Evils, all the...
There's been a couple of decent ones.
There have been decent ones. I don't think there's ever been anything that you
Silent Hill was
consider...
alright. That was quite good.
Exactly. There were always kind of films that were good, but not great films, and that's because a lot of people went into them kind of...
What was the more recent one that was alright as well?
Warcraft.
Oh no, I'm thinking of something else. Before that.
I enjoyed it, at least. Scratching my brain.
My mind has gone blank. But there was another one that I saw relatively recently that I thought was alright, but I can't remember what it was now. God damn.
But in terms of like video game movies, I think it's one of those cases where people are trying to work out how to get it right. And potentially this Norwegian filmmaker, I don't know enough about him, has a decent grasp on what he wants to do. So, that's fine. More recently, actually, Joe, you're well aware of this, I'm sure. The director of Kong Skull Island.
Yes, Jordan Vert Roberts. He's doing Mortal Kombat, Metal Gear.
Yeah, well, he's a huge fan of Metal Gear and he wants to direct it, but if you actually read the interview that he did recently with GameSpot, he hasn't actually... There has been no deal signed yet, but he really wants the job.
Oh, I thought they were working on the script. I thought he was doing it. I thought he was.
They're working on the script, but I think it's once everyone agrees that the script is good, then you get the green light to actually go into production. I don't think they have that yet.
I've remembered the films that were all right now. The Assassin's Creed movie was kind of okay. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought it was kind of all right. The other one that was decent was the Prince of Persia movie with lovely Jake Gyllenhaal in it.
Again, I would consider that.
Well, did you like the movie or Jake Gyllenhaal?
Well, he does walk around with his top off for pretty much the entire film. So, both reasons.
it also has Gemma Arterton for, people on the other side of the fence.
Yes. Yeah.
Just saying.
And Ben Kingsley being the baddie.
Yeah. He was...
He was there.
I thought those films were alright. They were entertaining enough for what they were, but I don't...
Yeah, I enjoyed them.
I don't think we have the kind of the Dark Knight of comic book movies yet.
No, perhaps not. Maybe Tomb Raider will be it. Who knows?
Potentially.
Yeah.
That's the hope, anyway.
I think it's quite good that they've hired a bit of an unknown, because it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not up to the job because they've not directed like major Hollywood movies before. And it's actually quite refreshing, because the thing with like a big time Hollywood director is that they may have a preconceived notion of what a movie like this should be, and they won't actually necessarily be familiar with the source material and how it should be approached. Whereas this guy could be perfect. He could have just the right sensibilities for a movie like this. So
maybe ROAAAAAR is a big fan of Lara Croft.
He could
played all the games, and he was like, hell yeah.
This is why
ROAAAAAR.
like I'm such a big fan of Jordan Vogt Roberts from Kong. I think he's a great director, not just because I really love Kong, but also because he's such a gamer. He's such a video game fan, and I think he'd be great for Metal Gear. Like, if you watch Kong, there's so many little video game references in there. Like, he references stuff like Journey in the film, and it's just super cool. And he's a real talent, I think. So I'm very hopeful that he does get the gig and that he actually does do Metal Gear, because it would be really good.
In terms of like unknown or relatively inexperienced directors as well, you also get the fact that they're not kind of beaten down by the system yet. They're able to bring a kind of a freshness. I mean, we're going to move on to a story shortly, and comparing this director to the director we're going to talk to later on, I'll discuss it again when we get there. But like, in terms of this film, I'm excited about purely because this director I don't know, so I don't know what they're going to bring to the table, and that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
There's other things coming up that I'm not excited about because I know the director too well, and they're a bit bland, but we'll discuss that in a sec.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so speaking of more directors, so Star Wars Episode 9 has fired director Colin Trevorrow?
Yeah,
Colin
Trevorrow. So he directed Jurassic World before, and they parted due to creative differences, as far as I understand. The creative differences, I guess the rumor has it, I'm not sure if it's confirmed, but was between him and Lauren Kasdan, and the studio sided with the screenwriter in this case, which...
Yeah, considering he's been involved with the franchise since the beginning, I think, they were always going to side with him. It's a shame, this, actually. It seems to be, like, reading between the lines, like, I know you're going to go on to mention the Han Solo directors who also were removed.
Yeah.
It seems like what the Star Wars studio want is at odds with anyone with sort of a real creative idea for it. And it seems like all they want is a safe pair of hands to point the camera in the right direction the way the studio wants it. And they don't actually want a director that's going to bring anything fresh to the table, which is kind of a real shame. I mean, it's just... I really liked Rogue One, and that was Gareth Edwards, right?
Yeah, it was Gareth Edwards, and he's not really done anything before that was anything big like that at all.
That was, he kind of went from Monsters almost straight up to this, and
he might have done a little movie that I'm quite fond of. I was just absolutely double checking to be sure.
Is it the one that he also actually did with J.J. Abrams? I forget the name of.
It might have been Godzilla.
Oh, that small thing.
Yeah, that tiny independent movie that I love.
Whoops. That's slipped my mind.
He went. That's why I was kind of like, have I forgotten that? Yeah, I just wanted to absolutely be doubly sure. But yeah, he went essentially from Monsters to Godzilla, and then
Monsters,
did Rogue
Godzilla,
One.
Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's a trajectory.
Yeah, and he's a producer on the next Godzilla, King of the Monsters. He's very much involved with that franchise. So
in terms of directors, though, this isn't anything new, especially for Disney, because in terms of Marvel, they've been doing this for pretty much years as well. You have people like what's his name? Oh, why am I blanking on the name?
What did he do?
Baby Driver recently.
Oh, Edgar Wright. Yeah.
Edgar Wright. My goodness.
Yeah, who got removed off Ant-Man.
Exactly. He'd been holding that project for years. Like, he had written a script for Ant-Man for years before even the Marvel Cinematic Universe had been a thing. And he had held on to this, and then they finally struck a deal to get him on board. And then they were working with him for so long, and then it just kind of came to an end.
Yeah.
And you have directors on the Marvel side that they're a little bit uninspiring. Like, you had, I remember Thor: The Dark World, you had Alan Taylor. And before that, all he had done was a few episodes of Game of Thrones.
Which, I don't think they stood out, because there's some really fantastic Game of Thrones directors that their names immediately jump out. And when you say them, you're like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And he's just got lost in the mix. And then I was like, wait, he directed The Dark World? World.
Yeah.
Which wasn't that great. The Thor the
No,
Dark World
but-
wasn't that great, so...
So this isn't anything new, them kind of replacing directors or bringing in directors from the start that are a bit, just as you say, point and shoot.
Yeah.
I was really excited about the Han Solo film with Miller and Lord in charge because I've really enjoyed all of the movies they've done.
Because, that was the Lego movie 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street. So, it was interesting to see what the guys that did these kind of movies could do with the Han Solo. And you could almost already see from what they did before a little bit of the character. You did not have to see the movie, but you kind of see them together and the work that they've done. And you could imagine that actually could fit in some quite humorous Han Solo, very in line with his character, actually. Roguish, fun, sarcastic, back-talking, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you could see how that would fit with their vision and what they've done with the movies before as well. And now they've replaced it with the snooze fest that is Ron Howard.
Yeah, I mean, Ron Howard's a very capable director. Obviously, you've got films like Apollo 13, which is a great movie, and he's done some really good stuff. But, yeah, I mean, crikey, if they were looking for someone relatively dull to take over, then they found them, and it is a shame. It's like, I feel like with the Han Solo movie they had an opportunity to do something really lively and fun and kind of exciting because of the nature of the character, and they've just gone for an old guard, and it's like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing. If they did something interesting with it, I would have been on board, but I never really wanted a Han Solo movie anyway. You don't need to explain everything about that character, and I don't think anyone can do Han Solo other than Harrison Ford, really. He made that character as much as that character made him. Very much vice versa kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it'd be really hard to find someone who can translate Han Solo to the screen as much as he did.
Yeah.
And let's not remember, Harrison Ford was not that old when he was Han Solo for the first time. He was 30-something. That is not, old Han Solo territory yet.
No.
So the whole young Han Solo thing is ridiculous to start with.
Yeah, well, they just want teenage Han Solo for the kids.
Oh, God. So, if they were going to do something really interesting with it, with some really interesting directors, something pretty out there, I would have been on board. But now that we're seemingly getting very straightforward, this is a Star Wars movie, blah, 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 I'm way less excited.
It's too safe now. It's just become too safe.
But that's the thing. That's what I was kind of excited about originally, when the whole Star Wars episodes were coming back in the first place. And then you had this rumor that there were also going to be side stories. And then the very first one obviously was Rogue One. And I liked that it was different. No Jedi, a far darker film than you probably were expecting. It was different. It was a different take, but from the same universe.
I thought Rogue One was ace. I really liked it. I thought it was awesome.
That's why when this was announced, the Han Solo film, again, like yourself, I didn't really think it was necessary. But as soon as they announced it and then they said Miller and Lord were on it, I was like, can you imagine a comedy in the Star Wars universe?
Yeah.
That would be ace.
That's what got me excited for this project. Not because it was Han Solo, but because it's just another genre in this universe. And that's what I was looking forward to. But they've gone with Ron Howard, who he's very capable, but he's also a bit bland and a bit safe.
He's of a certain generation as well.
Yeah.
That make films in a certain way. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I say, things like Apollo 13 and A Beautiful Mind and stuff, they're really good films, but they are of a certain style and a certain generation. And I feel like for the Han Solo movie, it's going to make money whatever they do with it. Whoever they stick in front of it, it's going to make money because it's Star Wars and everyone's going to go see the new Star Wars movie. And I feel like by removing Miller and Lord, they really missed an opportunity to take a chance and do something kind of exciting and fun that would still make the same money, but could be a bit different and could be a bit exciting. And it's just, this just reeks of the studio freaking out and being like, well, blah, 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 we need to just make sure it's a safe movie for the kids. It's just, oh, God.
I mean, especially, do they really have to risk anything? Even if one of their movies flops, they always have another one coming next year.
They're never gonna flop.
It's never gonna flop. Let's say it receives really bad critical acclaim.
It would still make a ton of money, and everyone...
It would still make a ton of money. Everyone would still go watch it. And even if everyone would be like, well, we didn't like it, then next year they're still gonna go watch another
Well,
one.
that's the thing, like, they've already proved this with the prequels. The prequels are pretty much garbage, yet people still went to see them, they still made a ton of money, and people still go and see Star Wars movies now and buy all the Star Wars stuff. So the prequels, even though they suck, did the franchise absolutely no harm whatsoever.
If 3 bad movies didn't kill the franchise, then one weird movie definitely won't.
Yeah, there's no reason at all for them to have to play safe. So I think it's a real shame. And this is what big Hollywood studios can be like sometimes, I guess. It's just kind of a bunch of money men who are just looking at the bottom line rather than actual filmmakers.
Oh well.
Well,
Well, there you go. This is the news. I also have a quick update that I found hilarious, and I think it's from 2 weeks ago, where we talked about another prequel story about Joker.
Lord, yeah.
It will be completely separate to other Joker movies that are coming out, which I think are several, and that it wouldn't star Jared Leto. And so at Destiny 2, what is it? Opening night? Premiere? What's the correct word?
Launch thing.
Yeah, thank you. Launch event. Jared Leto was interviewed, and he was asked, what does he think about all this news? And bless him, you really have to watch it, because he says he's confused, which is understandable, and then he, again, bless his cotton socks, tries to be incredibly diplomatic and say a lot without saying anything.
Bless.
And this struggle is really real in his face, in how he's phrasing things. And I think all of us just have to watch that segment, because he tried. He really, really, really tried.
This is the thing, I feel a bit sorry for Jared Leto sometimes. I mean, his Joker absolutely was appalling in Suicide Squad. It just totally sucked. But he's a great actor, and he's done some awesome stuff, and I like that he makes some interesting creative choices, although I've heard some rumours from the Blade Runner set that are just, he needs to stop with the method acting stuff. Basically, I heard that because his character is blind in Blade Runner, he showed up to the studio all the time pretending to be blind, even when they weren't shooting, and it's just, come on! You're making a Blade Runner movie, you do not need to be method acting the whole time. It's just ludicrous. But, hey, he's an artist and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, his Joker sucked, so I'm quite glad that he's not involved. But also...
Well, he's still involved. There's like Joker and Harley Quinn
we
thing.
We don't need any
Joker
of this.
Yeah, we did talk about
this,
that.
This one, I'm just reading the notes here that say the bloody Hangover director is doing it. Why?
And produced by Martin Scorsese. Yeah, we were baffled.
What? No, just make it stop. We don't need a Joker origin story. Just make it go away, please.
But there you go. I feel like Jared Leto is thinking pretty much like us at this point too. Okay, and now the news that I quite liked.
Yeah.
South Park Fractured But Whole has a game difficulty level based on the skin color.
Hilarious.
It is pretty hilarious.
I mean, this was so South Park. It was such a South Park obvious troll from the beginning.
So apparently Eric Cartman kind of chimes in when you manipulate the settings, and he says, "Don't worry, this doesn't affect combat, just every other aspect of your whole life."
Oh, dearie me.
So good.
Yeah, and I think they do a lot of other stuff, so I put a lot of kind of other references, because obviously you're still continuing with the character from the first game, but you can now choose the gender, so you can be male, female, or other, and characters do actually comment on, like, so, the whole, like, the other game, you're just pretending to be a boy, like, if you choose anything else.
Oh, my word. I did see a tweet, I think, last night that suggested that the whole race difficulty slider thing has no effect on the game whatsoever, and it is just a joke. But it's just, I mean, the interesting thing with this is all the opposing viewpoints on it. Like, I saw there was quite a long think piece that I read in Kotaku where they'd obviously missed the point entirely and had never seen an episode of South Park in their life. This is just vintage South Park, and if you're offended by it, that's exactly what it wants.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading here that the sliding bar will impact the amount of money a character receives.
Oh, right.
And how other characters speak to you.
Yeah.
So I guess the combat doesn't matter, but kind of they will notice and will say something straight away. But yeah, I just think that was quite a clever idea. That
it's very South Park.
Yeah.
South Park has been known for its social commentary. This is another pretty genius move on their part.
Yeah.
I'm kind of impressed, not only from the developers who really seem to get South Park, and obviously you have Matt and Trey kind of directly involved, so that's fine. And that's possibly where the suggestion came from. We don't know. But what I'm also impressed at is Ubisoft's willingness to allow that to happen. Because they're a big publisher, and just like the movie studios we were talking about earlier, who are all about bottom line, Ubisoft are a business as well. They want to make money as well, and they don't want to put too many people off with this kind of move. It's refreshing that they did give the creative license to allow them to do that. So well done to both of them for kind of getting this out there.
I wonder if it's kind of in the agreement, in their contract agreements with Trey Parker and Matt Stone and obviously the license holders for South Park. I wonder if it's actually stated in the contracts that you will not interfere with the creative direction of this game. South Park will be South Park, and we're going to do whatever suits South Park and not whatever suits Ubisoft's financial targets. I do wonder if it was... Because obviously any developer, publisher taking on a project like this has got to be a little bit wary, for sure. And so they must have been, like, aware going in what they were signing up for. So I kind of feel like maybe it was all agreed well in advance that, you know, this is how it's going to be.
Potentially, definitely. I mean, it's one of those things that getting them on board the first time and that experience and going through a whole not redundancy, but a bankruptcy thing and coming back out of it and getting the game out there finally.
Yeah.
And then this, it all seems a bit... you know, like they were on a bit of a roller coaster. So I'm sure when they came around to agreeing to do a second one, they probably had a few more demands of their contract. So potentially they could have said, yeah, we're going to be in charge of this. And if we say something gets in there, something gets in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could have happened.
I'm excited. I'm quite looking forward to this. I didn't play the first one, The Stick of Truth, although so many people have told me that I must. But I like South Park. I like that they kind of don't really give a shit, and they'll just, they'll make jokes about whatever is in their eye line and their target, and they just kind of go for it, and they're not worried about offending people. I mean, my personal views are very PC and very left a lot of the time, but I actually like that there's stuff like South Park that kind of makes fun of everyone equally.
They're equal opportunities offenders.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
I like that. And I think, actually, Trey Parker and Matt Stone are kind of geniuses. Some of the stuff they've done, even outside of South Park, is just absolutely brilliant. This is going to be good.
Cool, okay, so that is the end of the news section, and now we've got into what we've done, played, seen, heard, looked at, smelled section. And we are gonna start with Destiny 2.
Ooh, space!
I know, right? So Dia's played it. What is more surprising is that I have actually played it.
Nice! I have not, so I will sit here politely and listen.
So, Dia, I think you've played the first one, right?
Yes.
Well, I've not played the first one. It was nothing to do with the game itself, actually. It was more with the fact that when it came out, it seemed like the Destiny was start in a loop of everyone playing it, but complaining at it at the same time. And I was like, well, I'm tired of listening to this conversation running in circle. I'm not going to participate in this. Can we talk about something else? So I refused to play it just on principle. However, I thought, hey, the other game is coming out. It's a new leaf. I'm going to forgive and forget. And I'm going to try it out. And I did. And I think it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Go on, so what are your pros and cons? What do you like about it, and what do you like? Obviously, there's no reviews yet because, well, basically it's an online game, so the reviewers are currently playing it. So I'm sure we're probably going to see reviews next week, probably after the raid comes out, and people see what that's like. So for you so far, what's your experience been like?
So I'm going to rephrase that. I'm a Destiny noob. This is like the first time I've looked and touched Destiny, and before that I ignored everything about it. So if I do say something stupid, I do apologize, but just laugh it out. Laugh it out, guys. Okay, so number one, it seems that I've played for about 4 hours, and I'm more than halfway through the story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. That would be about correct.
Yeah, kind of want more of that story, yo. But, the shooting is really fun.
Yes.
I like that. I'm trying to get to the point where I actually like any armor I wear, because so far it's butt ugly.
Don't worry. You're going to be changing your armor continuously for the next few weeks until you actually get until you're at the highest level, and until your power level is really high, you're going to be changing your armor pretty regularly. So don't get too attached to anything yet. But go ahead.
Okay, so there comes the first question. Because as I said, Destiny Noob, prepare yourself, guys, for the big eye rolls. So you've got your levels, you've got your power, and then you've got your light levels? What?
Light is gone. So in the first game, you had your basic character level, which increased every time they released an expansion and whatnot. And then you had your light level, which was kind of separated. And when the first game came out and the light level was there, it was really confusing. People hated it. Then the Taken King came out, and that's basically what turned Destiny 1 around. And that's what brought a number of people back. Some people were too far burned, didn't come back, that's fine. But the people who did come back, I came back, at least temporarily, to do the raids and stuff. And I really enjoyed the Taken King changes, and they made changes to the light level as well, which kind of helped. And it's basically, they've taken now the light level and they've just changed the name, and it's now power level. That's all.
Okay.
So your regular level is just like a standard RPG. You just level up with experience, and that goes up as far as 20. Okay, so that's the limit right now. And getting there is incredibly easy. I did it in a day and a half, so you get there very quickly because they want to kind of get you to the end game, because the end game stuff is where it gets good. Not where it gets good, sorry, I'll come back to that in a minute, but that's where the rest of your game is going to be played, at the end game. So they want to get you there quickly, get you kind of leveling up. The power level is all based on your gear. So your weapons and your armor all have a number attached to them, and the number, the averaging out of the number determines what your power level is. And then the power level limit right now is 300. And then the items that you get as you're progressing through the game, as you do more difficult challenges, such as the strikes, the Nightfall strike, which is available now, the raid as well, which resets after every week. So you can do the raid again, and kind of every time you do it, you get new engrams and new things to unlock. And as you unlock, the stuff that you get is either going to be the same or better than what you currently have, and that increases your light level. And the whole thing is about getting a better light level up to the max. And that's the grind of the game. And that's why it really was a grind in the first Destiny. But they've done an incredibly good job of balancing it now so that you always feel like you're progressing. That was the thing that kind of turned me off Destiny 1. You got to the stage where you were doing kind of strikes and missions with your friends and all that, and they would get something you wouldn't, or you would get something they wouldn't, and it would just barely increase your light level, and it would barely, and it, right now at least, so far, they seem to have gotten the balance right, which is good. But the power level is, you kind of level up to 20, and then the power level is what becomes important. Because that's how they but that's how they kind of use the missions in the game. So you've probably noticed that as well as the main story missions, you have adventures and
fetch quests. Fetch quests. They're called fetch quests, Diarmuid.
Well, not exactly. I'm going to come back to that, because you have, when you get to the end game, you also unlock patrols, and they really are fetch quests. They are go and kill 10 of these things and collect what they have. Adventures are slightly different, but I'll get to that in a second. But when you look at an adventure on the screen or on the map, it'll tell you recommended power level is 170 or something like that. It's just to give you an idea of roughly how difficult this is going to be, and you can kind of get higher and lower depending on what stage of the game you're at. In terms of adventures, what you're talking about, it is kind of a fetch quest at the start. At least all of them seem to start off with this similar kind of thing. So they might say, oh, there's some weird signal and we need to hack into it to find out what they're planning or something. So collect 3 of these things. So you go around, you collect those 3 things. They determine from these 3 things that you need to go to this area and hack into a terminal and find out what they're doing. So you go to the area, you hack into the terminal, which is basically just pressing a button. And then let's say it'll take a minute to hack into it. So for that period, you have to stay within reach of the terminal and hold off waves of enemies. And then it'll move on again and it'll say, okay, they're planning this big machine boss thing. You have to go kill it. So you go to this big machine boss thing, and it's a big machine boss thing, and you have to kill it. I like what they've done this game, where they have stitched together some of the missions that you would normally do one by one in the main Destiny game. And it felt very pointless in Destiny 1. In Destiny 2, they try and wrap a little bit of a story around it. So they really are little mini adventures that you go on. And that you can do with friends and you can kind of level up. And they have little bits of lore attached to them as to what you're doing. Little side missions, you'd call them. And what they've done is they've kind of stitched together multiple, what would be considered patrols beforehand into a kind of a story, a mini story. And I like that. I like that there's a bit of an effort put into why you're doing these things, which makes it feel a little better when you're doing them. Because you're not kind of asking yourself, why am I doing this when I could be doing something else? This is the game. So you're talking about the main quest. You're 4 hours in and you're halfway through. As I was playing the game, as I went to each planet, I was doing the adventures as well. So by the time I got to the end of the game, I'd played for about 10 hours?
Oh no, I'm not doing all of them, but I'm doing most of them. Like, I cleared everything on Earth.
Yeah.
I mostly cleared everything on Titan. I've mostly cleared everything on this other planet I forgot, the pink one.
Nessus, I think.
Yeah, Nessus. So I've done a lot of them as well. And I still feel like I'm gearing towards the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It's not a long story. It's certainly not long, but I like that there's a bit more to it this time. In the first Destiny, there really was very little there as to what you were doing. Half the time they were throwing new races at you, and they were like, "Oh, the Hive are really bad," and you're like, "Really? Who are they? What are they trying to do? I don't get this." And they did a really poor job of explaining who they were and whatnot. This one, they do a much better job than that. They kind of tell you. So you have the big bad, who's Goal. He's the bad guy, but then you have, and the main missions are all about, I think it's like that main mission is called, it's a quest on its own, and it's called the Red War or something like that.
Yeah.
And that is the main quest. But there's also other milestones that you need to kind of do to unlock more gear and all that kind of stuff. And that main quest is only a handful of missions. I'd say maybe 6 or 8, maybe a few more. But like, that's it. Those story missions, what I really like about them is how diverse they are. It reminded me a lot of Titanfall 2 in that each mission has something different added to it. Like, one of the things, I was playing with our mutual friend Sean last night, and he was still going through the story, and he had because I'd already gone through it, I was on his fire team and we were going through his kind of story quest or story missions, and we did the one last night where you get a tank at the start of the mission.
Spoilers.
And you basically, well, it's not really, it's just a vessel that you're going to be using, but you basically stay in the tank the entire time, and it completely changes the gameplay. But it's fun. It feels fun. It feels different, and I like that they keep changing what you're doing as you're progressing through the story. I know. I'm really enjoying it. So far, at least.
I'm on the fence. I got to admit, I'm on the fence. Like, it's so pretty and beautiful to look at, and I quite like shooty. That's good fun and stuff. And it's quite telling that everyone is playing it at the moment. Like, I looked on PlayStation last night on my friend list, and everyone except one person was playing Destiny. And
here you go. That's another thing I'll add, because I did a test thing. So I think I will only ever play Destiny 2 with someone. Because I honestly tried yesterday to play it by myself. I got bored, stuck a podcast in one of my ear, and continued shooting.
Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 are built for playing with people. That's almost the entire point. It really is about getting a few friends together and doing missions, leveling up, getting new gear, trying to raise your light level, going on strikes, going on nightfalls, going on the raid. It's all about playing with other people. Outside of the very first mission, the opening mission, and the missions that you do to unlock new subclasses, which I think there's only 2 of them, those are the only ones that you have to do single player.
Oh, question.
Yes.
Where do I unlock my subclass?
It'll come up as, when you get to the point where it's unlockable, you'll get a milestone. So when you go to your map area and you press L2, you'll get a milestone basically saying, okay, return to Earth and go to the where the shard was. The original shard at the start of the game. And you go back there, and then you unlock a new subclass. And then the new subclass just gives you more powers. Or different powers, I should say.
Because, I need more powers, man. I've unlocked pretty much everything I could.
What class did you go with?
We're all warlocks. That's the thing. Everyone I know and their mother is warlock.
Yeah, that's what I would have picked.
The Warlock is really good, and it starts you off with the Dawnblade subclass, which is really good. the ultimate ability for that is really powerful, and I really like it. And then they give you Void Walker, which has a really cool ultimate as well, where it's just you basically throw down a black hole. It's awesome. And the one I'm currently on is basically turns you into Palpatine, which is the Arc class. I think it's called Stormcaller.
I did hear that you can have different characters, so you don't have to, like, if you pick obviously Warlock at first, you can also do other saves where your other characters.
Yes, so when you first launch up Destiny, because I've played Destiny 1, I already had some characters listed.
Oh yeah.
When I launched in, but if you get it and you haven't played Destiny 1, what will happen for you is you launch in and you get to this kind of login screen, and the login screen, it has 3 slots. So the 3 slots are basically what you use. So my top one is a Warlock. My middle one, which was from Destiny 1, which I haven't actually played in Destiny 2 yet, is Titan. And I never played with the Hunter, but the third one is kind of for that.
They're like the tank, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then you have the Hunter class, which is the last one.
Which is rogue, basically.
Exactly. And you can move, what's really good is you can move items between your classes.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you're playing the game and you level up your Titan, you level up your Warlock, you level up everyone, you can then share items between them by using your vault. So if you get an item that you don't think you're going to use, instead of dismantling it for parts or whatever, you can put it into your vault, and then on your next playthrough with your Titan or your Hunter or whatever, you can then use that item as well. So it always feels... That's what I like about Destiny 2 so far. Whenever you're playing, at least to me, it always feels like you're progressing. And that's what frustrated me about Destiny 1. The first frustration was there was no story in Destiny 1. And that annoyed me greatly, because I really wanted to... Like, that's what I kind of wanted. I'd heard the developers of Halo were making something that I could play on my PlayStation. I was like, yes! And then they brought over the gunplay and they left the story behind.
Yeah.
In this one, they've brought a decent enough story, certainly an engaging one, at least it kept my attention. The level design was really good. They've kept the gunplay, and they've also balanced it so well that you never feel like you're wasting your time. You always feel like you're progressing. And for me, that's the most important thing. As Alex, started me off on this bloody, I don't know, rant or talk, it is all about playing with other people. Like, that is the focus. Yeah. And the fact that it's so popular right now means it's a really good time to be playing it because, as you say, everybody's on it. So you'll always find someone to team up with and go on doing various things with.
I honestly can't decide. I'm very much like, yeah, I want to, but then I'm also like, I have so much to play already.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, look, the deciding thing is that we, because of the account, the PS4 account thing, we had Destiny on the 2 screens on the living room, and then someone very kindly gifted me a copy of Destiny so I could play with them. So I personally spent 0 money on Destiny, and if that someone wasn't so absolutely generous and kind, I would not get Destiny 2, because it's okay. I'm enjoying it, but it's okay. It's not going to replace Overwatch in my life that is still dominating everything I do multiplayer-wise.
Which is fair enough. Like, they are different games.
That's the thing. Like, that's why I haven't discounted it entirely, although I kind of said earlier, I've gone both ways. I've been like, yeah, I'll get it, and then I'll be like, oh no, I'm not going to get it. And that's why I'm kind of hovering, is because I feel like it's different enough from Overwatch that I will enjoy playing it in a different way. Because it's more like an MMO. It's like an MMO shooter, right?
Yeah,
whereas Overwatch is obviously very different.
My only issue, really, and it's been an issue since the very first Destiny, and it's the only thing that kind of annoys me, other than that, everything else I like, is the fact that you're limited to a 3-person fire team.
Well, are there the 6-person things as well now?
In the raid, you go in with 6 people.
Yeah.
But it almost has to be 6 people.
Right.
Organising a raid is actually a little bit even more difficult.
Okay.
But the restriction on just the 3 that kind of annoys me. So I think it was last night or the night before, I was playing with our mutual friend Ollie, and I think Dan from BRB UK jumped on for a period, and then I was like, I'd love to be able to invite Sean in because I know he wants to play as well, but that's it. That's the limit. We're at the limit. And it's kind of frustrating that it isn't a little bit more flexible. But at the same time, that's just something you have to live with. It's the exact same when I kept talking about PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
The fact that there's a 4-player limit on that for the teams, and I'd love to be able to play with more people at the same time. At the same time, I can kind of understand why they have done that to kind of for balance and to make sure that the challenge is equal for everybody.
And so also there's some things that are just going to make the servers melt if you just try and have like blow its mind with 2 big teams and whatnot. So yeah, I don't mind that, and I feel like maybe obviously at the moment it's a big thing because everyone's playing it right now, so there's a lot of people to kind of try and squeeze into a 3-man raid, 3-man strike, but I think that will settle down as people kind of sort of get off it a little bit, you know? Yeah,
I do think this is one of those games, and I think they've talked about this before. They don't necessarily need people playing all the time, and I don't think they have the content to do that either. It's one of those cases where you're going to play Destiny, you're going to get to the point where we are now, which is towards the end game, and you're leveling up and so on, but then you're going to meet up with your friends as the lifespan of Destiny goes on. You're going to meet up with your friends maybe once or twice a week, and during those times you're going to maybe attempt the strikes, the nightfall, and the raid, and that resets every week. So once you've done those, for at least the higher level people, there's no real reason to kind of continue on except maybe to get a few more legendary shards or these other little items in the game. But you can do that kind of on your own or as a 2-man squad or whatever.
Okay.
But so it's going to be a kind of, I think the way I see it happening is, for me at least, it's going to turn into a kind of a weekly thing where I'll meet up with a few people online, we'll play through a few strikes, maybe do the raid again, maybe do the nightfall, and then wait a week and then do the same thing again. And keep getting new gear and try and level up. And that's kind of the way it's going to go. And I think they've already announced, or it's already been leaked, actually, that the first expansion is coming out in December.
Okay.
That's pretty soon, actually.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. The first expansion is coming out in December. It's going to include a new set of story missions based on on the planet Mercury. And it's also going to include some other new stuff. I don't know yet if it's going to include another raid. Potentially it will. But again, so all of that is kind of coming soon as well. So you're going to have, just like every other MMO, you're going to have the initial thing, everyone's playing it, it's going to die down or become a kind of a routine, and then the new thing is going to come up and it's going to jump up again.
It'll be like peaks and troughs, won't it?
Exactly.
Okay. Maybe. I might have to get it. Maybe. I see. I have so many games to play, but then I'm like, ooh, shiny, Destiny 2, ooh, pretty, and I'm like, everyone's playing it. Oh, I feel left out. I need to get it. Oh. I'll see.
The conundrum.
It might accidentally fall into my bag later, in exchange for money. Yeah, I'm not a thief, so. Just need to make that absolutely clear.
I bless you. I like that you actually had to clarify it in exchange for money. You're like, gotta make sure. Yeah. No, I don't want it any other way.
To be under the impression that I'm a dirty thief. No. Yeah, maybe. Gah. Too much. Too many good games.
Guys, let's move on from Destiny 2, because we talked for a while now about it. Which I don't mind.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I wanted to know. I had questions. I had things. I probably have more questions, but I think that'll be like a 2-hour podcast. Let's move into things that we've watched, and we'll start with Joe.
Things on the telly. Yeah, so Tin Star is on now. A new series on Sky Atlantic, so also on Now TV, if you have that. It's like a new crime thriller series with Tim Roth in it.
Tim Roth is always good.
Yeah, I love Tim Roth. He's amazing. But it's been brought to us by a chap called Rowan Joffe, who's a British film director. People might know his name from the recent Brighton Rock movie. He did that, and he did a movie called Before I Go to Sleep, which had Nicole Kidman in it as a lady who had antegrade amnesia, which was quite a good little thriller that he did. Older people might know his dad, Roland Joffe, who did The Killing Fields and The Mission.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good lineage. Yeah, so he's brought us this, and basically the story is there's this former London police chief, Jim Worth, who relocates to Canada, to the Rockies, with his family for a new life. He's an old alcoholic, but 2 years sober, and there's a big oil company that kind of moved into this little town, and it's sort of obviously brought the money, but also its fair share of problems with crime and stuff. The police chief, Tim Roth, is kind of standing against the oil industry a little bit, as such, he's kind of targeted by it and his family are targeted. And so I won't go into details as to what's happened, but he kind of ends up on a bit of a path of sort of revenge and violence and all sorts of bad but fun to watch things. And it's a really good show. It's kind of... Tim Roth is incredible in it. I mean, he's always worth watching in anything because he's such a great actor. But he's so good in this. Like, he just... He inhabits... Because there's kind of two sides to this role. And he inhabits them both really, really well. And it's fully believable how he does it. And he's just magnetic to watch on the screen. Like, he's just... You know, you're completely... From the very beginning, you're completely involved with the story because of him, because of how he sells it. And it's just, yeah, really powerful, sort of very cinematic kind of thriller. Like, it's got a really interesting soundtrack. The performances, like I've said, especially from Tim Roth, but also the rest of the cast are also really, really good. It's really kind of tense and exciting. I've watched half of it so far. It's like 10 episodes, and my fella and I are watching through them together, and we've watched the first 5, and it's just, yeah, really cool. If you've got Now TV or Sky Atlantic and you're kind of into crime thriller type shows, then definitely watch this. It's really, really good.
Nice. So it's the first season, yeah?
Yeah, so it's a new show. Yeah, I guess, obviously, I don't know how this season ends because I haven't finished watching it yet, but I can imagine there's scope for it to continue. It's definitely really good.
Yeah, I might have to dip my toe into it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
The Game of Thrones has left quite a large void.
I mean, there's no dragons in this.
Well, yeah, but, you know, you can't have it all.
There are some boobs. Perfect. There are a few shots of boobs. So,
you know me so well. You know me so well.
You know, that fills a sort of Game of Thrones gap. Although, to be fair, there weren't many Game of Thrones boobs this last season. They've definitely restrained themselves on the boobs. So
just one buttocks.
Yeah, they're growing. And also we had...
the buttocks?
We had Grey Worm and What's-Her-Face's love scene that was quite nice. Yeah, but yeah, there was a shortage of nakedness in Game of Thrones this season, which is fine. They're growing. They're, you know.
Do you know what I loved? I loved the whole after that episode came out. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, the Game of Thrones showed the most shocking sex scene ever." I'm like, what? A man going down on a woman? That's shocking.
I know.
This is sad. Oh, people, please tell me that this is not like a rare occasion.
Honestly. Yeah. Some of the jokes afterwards were just... But yes, moving on back to Tin Star. It's a really cool show. I mean, I like a good crime thriller anyway. Like, I'm a big fan of stuff like Shetland and Luther and things like that. So any kind of crime thriller TV show, I'm pretty much kind of on board with already. But this is definitely one of the higher caliber ones. It's not The Fall, because The Fall was great in the first season and then just went stupid and rubbish. But yeah, this is really cool. Really interesting, bit different. Obviously it looks beautiful, like set in the Canadian Rockies in this absolutely gorgeous, picturesque little town called Little Big Bear, which is just the best name for a town ever. And it's really cool. Yeah, I can't really say that much more about it without going into spoilery territory, but it's definitely worth a watch, especially as, you know, the nights are drawing in now. It's getting a bit colder. You want a nice TV show to kind of curl up with on the sofa and be hooked with, and this is great for that. It's really good.
Okay.
So yes,
looks like I know what I'm doing next week.
Yeah, definitely watch it. I think you'd like it, definitely.
I have a similar kind of recommendation because Cormoran Strike now is actually on BBC coming out. Ooh. So Cormoran Strike novels are the novels by Robert Galbraith, who is actually J.K. Rowling, and they're detective novels, and there's 3 of them out, and I believe they filmed all of them.
Oh, cool.
But the 3 episodes, which cover The Cuckoo's Calling, the first book, are already out on BBC, and they're good. They're okay. I mean, the one thing I absolutely love is that Robin is played by Holiday Granger, and I love Holiday Granger.
She's cool.
She's fantastic. She's so good. Like, ever since she played Lucrezia in Borgia, I've been in love with her. Oh, yeah.
She was... The Borgias was great. I really liked that show.
Oh, man.
And yeah, Lucrezia, yeah, she was cool in that. It was such a good show. Yes. I think they're still on, like, box sets somewhere. If you've never seen the Borgia, it's definitely worth watching that.
Please. Yeah. Please see the Borgia for crying out loud. I mean, Jeremy Irons is in there,
so
guys.
So good. And yeah. And what's his face, who was the guy who played Cesare.
Oh yes,
he was in something else recently, and I was like, I recognise that guy, and then it hit me that it's Cesare Borgia. But yeah, such a good show, and if it is still on the box set somewhere, definitely watch that.
So, yeah, Holly Granger from Borgia, she's in Cormoran Strike. Tom Burke, I think that's the actor's name. He's actually playing Cormoran Strike, and he's pretty good. He's a pretty good, translation of the book version of him to
So that's, hang on.
the screen version of him.
That's the character's name? Cormoran?
Yes. Yes. Come on, he's a detective. He has to have a funky name.
That is such a book, detective name, isn't it? Like,
it is.
Come on, a cormorant's a bird. And oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Okay, I'm on board now. I might have to watch it.
I mean, look, it's a BBC detective drama, so it looks very BBC, but it's like a high quality BBC detective drama.
Kind of like
it does have that look, yeah, kind of. So yeah, when I look at it, I'm like, that it's a BBC production. Like I can see it. Like it has that feel, that style almost. There is some, I don't know, kind of ridiculousness things that people only say in TV shows and would never see in real life.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But otherwise, it's pretty good. It's J.K. Rowling's story. It's very very truthfully translated to the screen. I like the actors. I like, the stories are great. The performances are great. It's a recommend to see. It's another, really nice detective story, and it comes out every week. And, if you want to see it in all one chunk, the first book has already been covered.
Oh,
and
cool.
I believe there's 2 more to come. So I thought I'll give them the shout out while they're still on BBC, and you can catch up on iPlayer.
Nice.
And whatnot.
I'll watch that. Yeah.
Okay, you guys are giving me too much to watch now. The amount of stuff I have to catch up on.
Dad, usually it's other way around, so I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But there you go. On this note, I think we better get out of here because we've been here for over an hour.
I thought someone would be talking about It today. None of us have seen It yet, have we?
No, and I'm kind of tense about that.
I'm going to see it on Wednesday, but
oh, you're gonna go see it? Uh-oh.
I'm never going to sleep again after I watch it.
You do know that, right?
Yeah, I'm terrified of clowns. The miniseries scared me enough. So, yeah.
Why are you doing this to yourself?
You'll float too, Alex. You'll float too.
Good God.
Right, moving on.
Moving on. Let's finish through this episode and go and have the rest of the day and maybe have some coffee. Huh, Alex? That might have been a good idea before you start recording, but hey-ho. Okay, so... thank you very much for listening. We're gonna do some shout-outs to some lovely people who spoke to us on the forums and on the Twitters. So, I'll give forums to Joe.
Cool. So on the forums, we'd like to say a big thank you and hello to Stealthy Joe, Stingo, Q, and someone called Unflashable, which I think should become his new name. I assume it's Unflashable.
It is Unflashable, yes. Look, I realized I forgot to update the section, so I was stealthily typing it while you guys were talking, so there's some funny things in there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's good though. So thank you to those lovely people.
Yeah, Di, would you like to do Twitters?
We would like to say thank you to Will Driver at Will Driver 93, Gabriel Romo at Sleeperhit79, our good friend Calvin at Cloudstyle Gamer, Richard Kirk at Richard Kirk, and Hanifa at Hanifa MA.
There we go. If you guys would like to talk to us, you can do so on the forums on bigrebels.com, on the show thread for any episode. You can also do this on Facebook, facebook.com/BigRedBarrel. There is also a Gamer Nights group on Facebook that you can join to maybe play some Destiny with us, because, Destiny is a thing now. Or maybe even Overwatch, because Overwatch is still a thing, because Overwatch is awesome.
Yes, I agree.
You can also talk to us on Twitter, at BigRedBarrel is the account. Using the hashtag Geek Speak helps us to find your tweets. You can also speak to us directly. I'm at DustyTulip_.
I'm at Pixel Ritual.
I'm at Diarmuid_S.
You can also find the episodes of Geek Speak on YouTube and watch there, comment there. It is all there if you want to. There is usually a link that comes out either at the same time as the normal episode in your podcasting feeds or a tad bit later. I try to keep up on them and retweet them, so if you follow me and you want to listen to our podcast via YouTube, basically either follow Bigger Bell TV YouTube account or follow me on Twitter, and I'll usually retweet them. Also, iTunes is still a thing, I know. Everyone keeps forgetting. We keep forgetting about it too. But if you would like to help the podcast out, and if you really, really like us and want other people to like us too, you can leave us a review on iTunes and tell people that you like us. And then we already like you, but we'll like you even more. Because we are totally bought with good iTunes reviews.
Definitely.
Our love is definitely bought that way. speaking of Destiny and gamer nights, you can also join Big RB Destiny Clan.
I will, if I get it, which is looking likely.
By a second. The start of the episode. I'm not sure. Probably not. Middle of the episode. I'm not sure. Maybe. End of the episode. I'm pretty sure.
Seeing as I'm playing my Palpatine character at the moment in Destiny, do it.
Do it. Let the fear flow through you.
Good stuff.
What am I forgetting? Okay, Tabletop Tuesday is a Tuesday. In fact, every Tuesday it is a Tuesday, and every Tuesday we have a board game night in Loading Bar, Dalston, London, where we bring a new board game every week, and if you play it on the night, you get entered into a prize draw for a chance to win it by 10:30 that very evening. So the upcoming Tuesday the 12th, I want to say? Anyway, the Tuesday after the 9th, which is today. So
no, wait, so today's the 10th. Yeah, it's 12th, yeah.
Ha! Wins.
Numbers.
I know, right? They're hard. So Tuesday the 12th, we're going to have a little game called Oh Captain. So apparently it's all about sailing the seas, battling monsters, finding loot, and then crew are lying to captains, trying to keep the loot for themselves. So it's a little bit of a bluffing game, and it's really interesting. There are, crew revolts and all that kind of stuff, and it looks really, really pretty. So yeah, that's the game for the upcoming Tabletop Tuesday. But guys, there's a huge library there, like huge. So even if the feature game doesn't sound like your kind of game, there's so many other games to play on the night. So you should definitely just come. What am I forgetting? Cookies and booze. That's what I keep forgetting. So yeah, this happens every Sunday. So it's either me and Julia, or me and Coleman when Julia gets away. So there were 2 weeks of Coleman and me playing Heavy Rain and screaming Jason crazily. And now this Sunday, whatever the number it is, I can't calculate, the next coming Sunday after this podcast, Julia's back, so we're going to play a little bit more Mass Effect Andromeda. And hopefully this time my Elgato is not going to show me the middle finger.
Oh, fun.
Which it hasn't for the last 2 streams, so this has been good. And we also got a new camera, so hopefully we will not be blurry. So there's all crazy updates coming to Cookies and Booze, guys. You should really watch. We hump a lot of rocks while we play Mass Effect. It's fun. Is that it?
I think that's it.
That is it.
I think we are good.
Cool! So, for the episode 105 of Big Rebel Geek Speak, I have been Destiny Butts.
I've been strongly considering buying Destiny, even though I have no money and I have too much to play, but oh god.
I have strongly been forcing Joe to buy
it. And for this episode of Geek Speak, we bid you goodbye. Bye!
Bye!
Butts.
You and your ears are quite welcome
for the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
to BigRedBarrel.com
for more podcasts,
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.
Good. Right. Ready.
That's like the two opposites right there. You had Alex kind of going, and then you, Joe, ready.
And then at 10 o'clock tonight, I'll be like,
have it, party all the time, party all the time, party all the time. No, I'm joking. All the time, 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 no, I'm joking.